Valboy, I think. You suggested Codebreaker from Milwaukee. I started to like them, but then I ended up deciding that I didn't like them. It was a bit interesting. More interesting was Crux Shadows that you suggested was the goth pop band from Florida. This band was just... it was like Orgy threw up on the Spice Girls. They're definitely, I mean, I guess it figures that it is popular in Florida. It's not what I'm into at all, but I was just fascinated by just that bands like this still exist. So thanks for that one. And yes, I'm sure they're a hit at the Dracon Con. Okay, and then you suggested Collide too, and I didn't get into Collide either, so I'm sorry about that. Greg Pirazzini, my man Greg, you hit a winner here with Cryuff, which is a Japanese band, and they're more of a shoegazy Japanese band. I ended up listening to this a lot. I just left it on, and it was okay. It was pretty cool. The other band, another Japanese band, which I've never heard of, Concerto Moon, I couldn't stand, and I hated it, and I tried listening to it 3 times, and I could care less if there was a guitar virtuoso in any band. That sort of stuff doesn't really impress me. It never has. And I don't like metal, like this kind of metal. It reminded me of bad 80s metal. So, but the Cryuff stuff was cool. Okay, Dottie Llama, next time, suggest a song. That would be great. Jason from Florida, you suggested Cocteau Twins. Of course, Cocteau Twins are great. I'm glad someone suggested this band. Treasure happens to be my favorite record by them. And a story about Elizabeth Fraser. I was working on a photo shoot maybe 2 years ago. It happened to be my birthday, and it was of Elizabeth Fraser, and she sang me happy birthday. So that was actually a pretty cool thing to have her sing you happy birthday. And then you suggested Concrete Blonde. Concrete Blonde, I don't really have any Concrete Blonde, but I respect Concrete Blonde a lot, and I like Janet Napolitano. I think she's a really cool bass player and vocalist. So, Afro Daisy suggested Crustacean. Didn't like. I just thought it was just watered down, subpar versions of a lot of sort of electronic bands that you've heard before. Iliff, Concrete Blonde again, and that was another cool video that I watched. And then you suggested Colorbox. Colorbox is, you know, no, I couldn't get into that at all. And it surprised me that this was actually on 4AD, since it wasn't really dark, and it was just sort of soft 80s stuff or something. I don't even know when it was, but I didn't like it. Nick, yeah, like everyone seems to like that Cruel Black Dove and the Crying Q. Lonnie, next time leave a song. Don't just leave names, because I'm not going to look up all these bands no matter how. Same with Bill Cosby. All Bill Cosby did was leave 5 names of bands. Cymbals, E-Guitars, Crystal Stilts, and Circle. I've never heard of either of these bands. Would like to hear them. Next time leave me a link. Harold, I give Harold the prize for the post of the week because he suggested Captain Beefheart, which Captain Beefheart, if you don't know, this guy had a 4.5 vocal octave range. There's a record that he did called Trout Mask Replica. He started in the 60s. When I was on tour with a band, one of the guys in the band would always play this record. And that's how my first exposure to Captain Beefheart. And I never really liked it, but you end up growing to like it the more you hear it. So, sort of sounds like Howlin' Wolf in a weird way. This does double record, this Trout Mask replica record, was produced, I think, by Frank Zappa. And it really served as sort of, I think it was groundbreaking at the time, and it sort of opened the doors for a lot of the surrealist and maybe even like punk music. So that was great. That was great, and I think everyone should be familiar with him. The next one you mentioned was The Chills, which is a New Zealand 80s band. I really like this because it was it did have like this dark sort of bleak side to it that I liked. And this is another cool one for your third one, even though I really don't like it when people leave more than 2. In this case, this is why you win the prize, because you hit on 3, was African psych fuzz rock band from the 70s called Chrissy Zebi Tembo and Nagazi Family. This was really cool, and again, it's a band that I've never heard of, and I thought it was just dope. You also go on to mention the Cows. I play with the Cows, and they're sort of an art noise punk band from Minneapolis, and I don't really like the Cows at all. Okay, Rick T, yep, Bernie Larson is great. Okay, Chad C, you get the fucking longest fucking post ever that you wrote. What did you say? Okay, you mentioned Crocodiles, which is a new San Diego band. Crocodiles got their name from an Echo and the Bunnymen album, and they do sound like the Echo and the Bunnymen. They actually sound like the Jesus and Mary Chain almost exactly. Talk about wearing your influences on your sleeve. It wasn't that bad, though. I mean, I hung around and watched this, so it's not that bad. And then you went with what else did you go to? Oh, Cloud Cult out of Minnesota. You know what? I tried everything that you sent me a couple songs. I couldn't get into it at all. I tried. I thought I liked it for a second, but then you know, that was just for a second, and then that second was gone. Jason, yep, Concrete Blonde. Okay, Andrew, you came back with the Cramps. You know what? Goo Goo Muck was the first song I ever heard by the Cramps, and it was probably my favorite song by the Cramps. But it's so dated now. I don't own any Cramps. I don't even care if I do. But yes, of course, they're a relevant band for sure. ChemLab. Again, I wouldn't listen to ChemLab again after this for probably another. I don't care. They're just I think an early 90s industrial sort of movement that came out that was easily forgettable at this point in my life, and probably most people's lives. Although, yeah, don't like ChemLab. Chalk Maze, you know what, you said something, Crow Black Dove, you thought it got a little repetitive halfway through. That, my friend, is a great observation, because it does.